In your qigong practice, should your eyes be open, closed, or somewhere in between? That's what we're going to explore in this episode of Chi Life. So there are actually quite a few factors to consider about whether we want our eyes open or closed as we practice qigong, and we're going to go through quite a few of them in this video. I'll give you a simple answer, but also a lot more details as well, and that's going to be useful to different people. If you're a beginner, obviously you just want a simple answer, we'll start with that. But you might be interested in some of the other details, particularly if you've been practicing for a while, and if you understand them, that's going to help you to make good choices about what you do with your eyes as you practice. So we're going to look at just basically how using the eyes can create an internal or an external focus, how this affects yin and yang, things like that. But then we'll look further at how the eyes are sometimes used in qigong practices for directing the energy, activating the brain, activating different organs in different ways, for harvesting energy, and even how some qigong practices are used for healing the eyes, and how that all fits together. So hopefully this is going to be interesting. So first, the simple answer of whether your eyes should be open or closed. The main simple thing that this comes down to is an internal or an external focus. Naturally, when you open your eyes, your sight takes in more from around you, and your energy goes where your awareness goes. You naturally send your resources to that. So if my eyes are open, I'm paying more attention to the world around me. Naturally, lots of little different things happen inside my body to help respond to what's going on in the world around me. When I close my eyes, I shut out a lot of my connection or focus on the world around me, and it's much easier to send my attention into my body. So, does that mean that one's right, one's wrong? Definitely not. It depends on what it is that we're wanting to achieve in our practice. So, sometimes we very much want our energy and our awareness to go out. Other times we want very much for it to go in, and so it becomes clearer, eyes open, eyes closed. Often what we want is a balance between the two. We want to have a balance of awareness of the external, but still tune into what's happening inside. Lots of different practices we want that for. Some really obvious ones are any that involve us stepping or moving around. Well, one of the big things with qigong is to be able to relax and focus, and it's not going to be very relaxing if you're bumping into things or knocking things over, or things like that. And so we need to at least have our eyes partly open for that, even if we're trying to send our awareness inside. So a common way that people address this is by having the eyes partly open, just open a little bit. And as well as that, or instead of that, these two factors can be combined, softening the focus. So you just kind of defocus your eyes a little bit. So even if your eyes are open or partly open, you're not focusing too much outside, you're letting yourself still be aware, but in a soft focus. And that way you can turn your attention, your awareness inside. That's the short, simple answer. To choose which of those works best for you, and as part of this, you can choose on how easily you're feeling the energy as you move, things like that. But you can kind of vary. Do I need to be more open, more closed? How am I trying to tune in? How am I trying to focus? To add to this more, there's the I guess just the whole concept of yin and yang. Yang is external, yin is internal. So when we're wanting to stimulate the yang energy, often we're going to have our eyes more open, more yin, they'll be more closed. Something else that fits in with this with the eyes is the direction we look. Yang is up high, yin is down low. And so if we're wanting a more internal yin characteristic to our energy, we'll tend to, as well as maybe partially closing the eyes and softening the focus, we'll tend to look downwards at the ground in front of us. Whereas if we're wanting more yang energy, and if you've done a few different qigong practices, you'll recognize this, we tend to look up within those, and this opens it turns our face up and it opens us to that downwards energy from heaven, or the yang energy, whereas looking downwards opens us to the yin energy. So a few different factors already just in terms of having the eyes open or closed. Moving on beyond this, assuming we are having our eyes open, at least to some degree, the eyes often have a specific role to play in different qigong practices. One very simple one is wherever we look, again because it sends our focus and awareness there, it's not just doing something in our brain, particularly if it's something within our own body. As we look at it, our body tends to make changes to send energy there, because our awareness is there. It goes, oh, I'll send some blood there, I'll send some nerve activity, and so on. And so it's very common that we will look in one way or another, or look at different things within our bodies as we're doing the practice to help to send the energy, to help send the body's resources there. Now, it's really interesting, as I've taught meditation at various times over quite a few years within workshops and things like that, I've had the privilege of watching people while they meditate and move energy around their bodies. And it's very common for people, even with their eyes closed, to subtly turn their head as if they were looking at different parts of their body to help to send the energy there. And this is just the connection for most of us with our vision is so strong that even with our eyes shut, it kind of helps to direct our internal sight to direct the energy there. So it's a very valuable principle within some practices. This is part of why in many practices the advice is to follow your hands with your eyes. There are more specific reasons for some of them, but as a general practice, if you're following your hands, you're helping to send the energy out and into the movement that you're doing. Sometimes you might follow your legs, for example, as well, but this is the general principle. Other exercises have even more specific reasons for why they might follow the hands or look in particular directions. One of these is activation of the brain. Now, in one of the recent vlogs, we looked at an exercise that specifically does this, and so there's specific instructions for using the eyes in that one. It was dragon spies its prey, this movement here, and we specifically open our eyes wide because we're following our hands so the eyes are relaxed, and then they open wide to look in all directions, and this is to open pathways in the brain, because it's been studied and shown that when you look in different directions it activates different parts of the brain. So opening the eyes all at once helps to really light up the activity in the brain. Another example of this is an exercise called Dragon Clears a Path. 2 dragon ones, very cool. It's this one where we extend the arm and we make big circles and we follow our hand with our eyes as we do this, and this makes our eyes do a big circuit looking in all directions as we do this, as we follow our hand, because it's making such a big circle. And again, this helps to open up and clear out any blockages within our brain. So very specific reasons why the eyes are used in some ways in some exercises. Another one, so this is going to move on now into exercises that heal the eyes. So one that's very good for this is used for the kidneys as well, actually, but it's riding a horse using a bow and arrow to shoot the eagle. And we focus close and then we focus far. So as well as having physical and postural things, we're actually getting a little workout of our tiny eye muscles as we do this. So again, a reason for specific directions of using the eyes within the exercise. And again, I don't seem to be having a huge amount of luck with these vlogs recently. It's raining. I'm going to try and get this done anyway. So if we do more things, so there's more things for healing our eyes in qigong where we're going to do different things with them. So it's going to include things like this, focusing. It's going to include things that make us look in different directions. But then there are going to be some other things, like for example, and this isn't going to be a complete tutorial or anything like that, but when we energize our hands and then we send energy from the palms of our hands into our eyes, and we rub different points to stimulate the circulation and so on. So that's another interesting, aspect of using the eyes in qigong. Another one that is really, really interesting though is there are practices where the eyes are used for actually taking in or sending out energy. So not just in terms of getting the rest of the body's resources to go somewhere, but particularly through the eyes. So one of the really famous ones for this is sun gazing, where you look at the sun to take energy in through your eyes. Now, as a caution, you need to do this with proper supervision with someone who really knows what they're doing, so they can advise you, because it's very easy to damage your eyes looking directly at the sun. But the main time when this is done is at sunrise, as the sun is just peeking over the horizon, and the light from it is most gentle and it's easiest to absorb. You can do it at other times, but again, even more caution required. But what happens is the light goes on to the retina. This then affects the way that you produce hormones through your body, and it has a big impact on your energy. You can also send energy out through your eyes. Sounds a bit weird unless you've done a lot of qigong, or unless you've spent time with people whose energy has been developed and become very strong, and then you can feel it. You can feel the energy coming from the eyes. Won't talk too much more about that, but it's interesting to understand some of the things that there can be within a qigong practice. The rain started to get heavier, so I am sheltering amongst the trees now, which is maybe kind of appropriate for the probably the last little detail I'll talk about. And this is the way using the eyes stimulates different organs in your body. So two in particular. So the eyes in Chinese medicine are connected to the liver, and of course it's part of the wood element, so this is why the trees are appropriate. And so when you open your eyes, particularly if you open them wide, it creates a strong stimulus of the liver and of the wood element. And if you're quite sensitive, and you do start to become more sensitive and more aware the more qigong you do, you can really feel this as you open your eyes wide. You can feel this little stimulation going on in your liver. So equally the opposite of that, if you partially close or completely close and relax your eyes, it tends to rest the liver. But what happens when you close your eyes to the other organs? It depends a bit on your focus that you choose after that, because often we like to have an awareness of what's going on in the world around us. Now, if we just completely close our eyes and we're fully relaxed, we feel fully safe, maybe in a closed room or something like that, it's not necessarily going to do too much to activate the other organs. If we're in another environment, a more open environment, and we can also choose to consciously focus so we maintain awareness on the external world around us, then closing our eyes doesn't actually necessarily make our activity more yin or relaxed, because what we do is, instead of trying to take in information about the world around us from our vision, we switch to other senses. One of the biggest ones being hearing, which is connected to the kidneys, but then also sometimes simple proprioception. So using our muscles' awareness of their position relative to other parts of the body, also the tactile sensation of the skin and so on, to understand where we are in space. So sometimes closing our eyes, it can be a way to switch from liver activation to kidney activation, particularly if we switch to using hearing a lot. If we're using more proprioceptive, then that's going to stimulate the earth elements, so the spleen and the stomach. And if we're using the skin, it's going to activate more the lungs, the large intestine, because of metal activation. Okay, some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about with all these things, or it'll have helped you to join a few dots together, and that's because maybe you've done a fair bit of practice, a fair bit of study of qigong. For others of you, maybe that's a little bit over your head. That's fine. I hope you're going to be going far in your qigong journey and learning all these fascinating things, how they fit together. I think they're fascinating. I think they're well worth learning. They give us so much insight, so much understanding about ourselves, and about our connection to the world around us. The rain stopped, so I'm back outside again. So why did I go into so much detail about these different aspects of how the eyes influence our qigong practice? Well, I'm a big believer in helping people to understand what it is that they're doing. When you understand, you're in a better position to make good decisions and gain the most benefit from whatever it is that you do. It's all very well sometimes to say, just do what feels best. And most of the time, you're not going to run into too much trouble with that. Often it can be quite a good thing. And I would say with these different factors, these different principles that I've mentioned to you, particularly early in your practice, do just see what feels best, see what helps you to feel the energy. That's great. But it's helpful to understand these different factors, because then you're not going to discard benefits that might be there that you're not able to pick up on just yet. So if an exercise has specific instructions of what to do with the eyes, maybe try doing that, because there might be some really good reasons why. If you don't understand why, maybe ask whoever it is who has taught you, or ask someone else who's very knowledgeable about qigong, and they might be able to help you to understand what it is that you should do with your eyes and why you're doing it that way. Other times the instructions aren't so specific, and in those situations often it's fine to just pick and choose for yourself. Do you want more yin, more yang, more internal, more external? Are you wanting to use your eyes to help guide your energy, or would you rather work with your energy in a slightly different way? And that's fine. You can just adapt that for yourself. But if there are specific instructions, this hopefully will give you a few hints, a few clues to help to understand them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Chi Life. I would like to say a special thank you to all the people who have commented on videos recently. There have been a bunch of people commenting on different videos, which is really awesome. I think that helps the channel. The way I understand it works is the YouTube algorithm kind of goes, oh look, these people are so interested, they're even writing a comment, and then they suggest the video to more people. So that's really good. It'll help more people to see them. But anyway, I hope that I'll see you on the next one. You might want to like, comment, subscribe, share this one as well. You might want to look at some of the other videos which will appear over here. I'm getting the hang of this YouTube thing. And yeah, see you on the next one.